Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Chad Bauer is based in Baltimore in the USA and runs SR&B advertising. They recently got involved with a new business network which is associated with the Baltimore Ravens football team. Thank you very much for being my guest on the podcast today, Chad.
It's a pleasure, Liz. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to connecting with you today.
So your field is advertising and marketing. Is this a field that you've always been interested in?
It's kind of one that I grew up around.
Mm-hmm.
The agency that I own now was actually my father's agency for a long time, so I grew up around the business. Um, but I can't tell you that when I was younger, or even going through undergrad and college and stuff, that marketing and advertising was the top of the list with what I wanted to pursue for a career. Um, I I started working when I was 13, doing landscaping and cutting grass for neighbors and people that lived in our
Yeah.
community, and um, kind of got a quick sense of what it took to make a buck, and really liked working, and making money and recognizing what you put into it. You can get some,
Mm.
you can reap some rewards and get some stuff out of it. So when I left for college, I actually sold the business that I had started cutting grass, and really gained an understanding, I guess, or an appreciation for putting time, effort, and energy into something and being able to recognize a benefit from it. In that case, it was obviously selling the business and putting some money in my pocket when I left for college.
Yeah.
But when I got out of school, I pursued a sales position in a big corporate media company, and
Mm-hmm.
it was awesome. Like I thought for the first handful of years that I was there that I wanted to pursue that direction and climb the corporate ladder and maybe
Mm-hmm.
work in New York City one day. And after about five and a half years, that entrepreneurial bug was biting me, and the whole corporate world was draining me, and I realized that it wasn't what I wanted. So when that time came, I talked to my father about coming and working with him and potentially taking over the business in the future, and it all ended up working out that way. So yeah, it wasn't ever a major, I guess, drive to me to be in the industry, but growing up around it and being a part of it for so long kind of made natural sense. And, then
Yeah.
being able to kind of run my own business and do what I wanted to from an entrepreneurial perspective, this certainly supported that
Yeah.
mindset.
Yeah. So you were never, you sort of never thought that this is what you would do one day, was sort of take over the family firm. Did your father think that you would take it over eventually?
I think that, my dad knew that I kind of had a pretty strong, internal drive for, to succeed, to make money, to define my own, definition of success, as I grew up and became an adult. I will say, fast forward after being at the agency now for 14 years, a lot has changed and evolved.
Hmm.
But, when I originally had approached my father, he had said to me, well, Chad, I certainly can't support you financially the way that you have been, for the last few years in this corporate environment. But the long term potential is there. Why don't you come and work with me for a couple of years and truly determine if it's the direction that
Hmm.
you want to go. So you'd have to ask him directly if he ever thought it might happen. But when I brought the idea to the table, he was very open and receptive to it. He didn't have a true exit strategy or plan for the agency when he was ready to retire.
Mm.
So call it good grace, good timing, good karma. I'm not sure, but maybe a combination of all those things kind of led us to the direction that we went in, and ultimately, where we are today. So,
Yeah.
my father has always been a huge part of my life. Very, very close with him. He was my best man in my wedding, and and there was a lot there that naturally made sense to kind of
Yeah.
work together and sort of work through a transition of ownership for the agency.
Yeah. So how long has the agency been in existence now?
The agency was founded in 1964, so
Mm.
we're about a little bit over 62 years in operation at this point.
And what did the agency originally do? Because I imagine it's very different to what you do today.
Yeah, there's a lot of differences. And there also are a lot of similarities, right? And that was kind of part of the whole, I guess, objective of taking the business owner over. Historically, the agency for a very long time serviced local and regional businesses around the Baltimore, Maryland metro
Hmm.
for our advertising and marketing needs. So anything from logo design to a script for a radio commercial or TV commercial to the actual execution and buying of the media for the television, radio, traditional, non-digital channels. The agency hung its hat on that for a long, long time. The transition in the last 14 years has really been more towards obviously the digital side
Hmm.
of the media space. And really, for the last 6, 7 years, 8 years or so, we've been focused primarily on performance and growth marketing. And we've done that by, hiring experienced professionals to come in and help us grow that and evolve those capabilities and understandings with clients.
Yeah.
So while there's a lot of things different with way of technology, media, and even just the ways in which we can go and market a client or advertise a client, it's a very fragmented space right now. There's all kinds of things that advertisers can do
Mm.
to promote themselves. Um, there's a lot of core tenets that still remain, and one of those biggest things, Liz, was our ability to connect and network with the community and our customer service and how we serve our clients.
Yeah.
We retain 94% of our business annually, which is kind of a flag that we like to fly. We're super
Mm.
proud of that. But that wasn't something that I necessarily got into place when I took over 6, 7 years ago. That was a core tenet of how my father ran the business and how we were known from a reputation perspective in the market.
Yeah.
And I could go into detail on that, but just how we treat our clients, our processes, the way we communicate, the way we define success upfront in advance of an engagement, that really leads to the retention of a lot of business. And
Hmm.
I believe as a leader, before you go, trying to acquire new customers, you need to really make sure that you can retain the current business that you have in an efficient and effective way.
Yeah.
So we've
Yeah.
tried as we've, the fancy agency term pivoted, as we've pivoted away from certain things, and gotten into a different space, maybe with the way that we go to market or the way that we run a client campaign. It's been really, really important that we hang on to kind of that day one mentality of customer service, communication, and understanding, with the clients that we have on board.
Yeah. So how big is the agency these days? How many staff do you have?
Yeah, so we're still a fairly small shop. We have 10 full-time employees that are on 50 plus hours a week, covering everything from the creative and production side of marketing and advertising to the strategy side, and then the execution when we'll go to market with campaigns. And then we've got a bench of about a half a dozen part-time people that we use to just help control kind of overall expenses and overhead for the shop.
Hmm.
And we'll pull those players on and off the field as we need them, depending upon the client, the deliverables of work, you name it. So, from a headcount perspective, that's how we currently sit. We'll probably be adding 2 to 3 additional heads based on our resource planning and our growth strategy for the next 12 months. We'll probably be adding another 2 to 3 heads in the next year. Also, while implementing enhanced technologies to increase our efficacy
Hmm.
for things like reporting, financial responsibilities around the agency, so on and so forth. So our plan for growth from a resource perspective is always to keep the human at the forefront of what we're trying to do,
Yeah.
but use tools and technologies to allow our human resources to be more effective and efficient with their time.
Yeah, yeah. So who are your clients? Are they sort of from particular sectors, or is it a real broad range?
We cover a lot of different verticals. We've never really believed that positioning the agency to be an expert in one particular vertical or series of industries was the best approach for us, and that's mostly based on the experience of our team being so kind of well spread out across a
Hmm.
lot of different industries, right? And in today's space, there's so many different things that can be done from a B2B perspective or a B2C perspective, with way of media, with way of strategy. But what we have found is we're more interested in working with a business in a particular position, right?
Hmm.
Just call it a stage of their business,
Yeah.
looking to they already understand the importance and the need to market and advertise. They may already have another agency or be interested in hiring an agency, but they essentially already have a budget earmarked for dollars to associate to marketing and
Hmm.
advertising. And a lot of times, again, regardless of that industry, we can sit down with them, help them define success to the goals and objectives that they're trying to meet. Whether that be across, a direct consumer or kind of e-commerce type business, retail, physical, in-store brick and mortar retail businesses, financial services, multi-location businesses and franchises, automotive companies, home service based providers, real estate, healthcare,
Hmm.
in professional services. I mean, it kind of, I'm covering a lot there, but
Yeah.
there are a lot of businesses in the stage that I described that cross, those industries and those verticals. And I think, again, based on our 60 plus years in business, we've got a lot of experience to bring to the table,
Yeah.
regardless of what industry that the client may be in.
Yeah. So, how do you find your clients, or how do they find you?
Yeah, so that's a big part of kind of our history, and tying it back to when my father was running the shop. I would like to state when I took over, there was nothing inherently wrong or broken with the agency,
Mm.
right? It was a solid foundation that my father had worked, close to 40 years to build and operate. He was a true owner operator, however, Liz.
Mm.
So he touched a lot of things, right? Pretty much anything that came over the fence, he touched, and before it went back out over the fence, he touched.
Hmm.
And again, nothing broken with that. Built a great business, and quite honestly, made off well for himself when he was able to sell it. But I had bigger aspirations or different aspirations and goals than he did, and that's really kind of caused me to have to, uh, peel away from a lot of the day to day when it comes to maybe client strategy or account management
Mm.
stuff, so I can focus my time on working, on the
Yeah.
actual business rather than in it.
Yeah.
And so, kind of tying back to, when he was doing things, it because of how he was an owner operator, he kind of carried the key to a lot of things. I've been able to kind of pass various keys off to managers and leaders that I brought on board to kind of lead and spearhead those efforts.
Mm.
Again, in an effort to continue to deliver great service and not skip a beat there for our clients, but also to free up my time to be able to go out and grow this business.
Yeah.
The way our clients have historically found us have really come either via word of mouth or referral based.
Mhm.
Um, in the 60 plus years, really prior to last year, in the 60 plus years, we, had never really had to market or advertise the firm. A lot of, our agencies, or a lot of our clients had come to us through these referrals.
Yeah.
So, you know, um, that's been great and that's awesome. And like that, like I said, talking about the retention side of the house, if we've got clients that are, marketing us and selling us and positioning us to other prospective clients, that's a huge win.
Yeah.
However, it is tough to plan growth, just knowing that that is kind of the only way that we have acquired new business.
Mm.
So I think that we've been so successful with referral based growth that now, as we are ready to scale, we've got product market fit as a business. Now we just gotta, we gotta pour gas on that fire.
Mhm.
So as we're ready to scale, we want to start to apply some of those same strategies that we deliver for our clients now, to our own growth.
Yeah.
And there'll be some things that we started executing on about 6, 8 months ago, some things that we're slowly rolling out into the market over the course of the rest of this year. That by the top of, by the time of the beginning of 2027, we'll have a couple new things out that are positioning us and marketing us to our target audience a little bit more directly and effectively. So we're excited about that. We've had a couple things roll in here in the last month or two that have been new that we've recognized from these new efforts. So a lot of excitement around that. And again, I'll tie back to the fact that it's been great that we can hang our hat on the referral business. We know that that will continue to come. And I think through some of these new enhanced efforts we're executing on, we're going to see some stuff come across that we haven't before, which, like I said, is super exciting.
Yeah. Now, I know that networking is something that's really important to you. Tell me about your involvement with the American Marketing Association.
Yeah, for sure. So networking is a huge part. I think that that is partly what has led to some of the referral business that
Mm,
we have gotten. Um, Whether it's again through an existing past client or just somebody that we know in the marketplace that understands our approach and knows that we do good work and we take care of our clients. Um, it all kind of started with me a few years ago. Gosh, it's probably been 12 years now. Joining up with the American Marketing Association (AMA) and specifically the Baltimore chapter. AMA is a national organization that supports and helps grow marketers and the professional workspace of marketing and advertising. And I joined on, like I said, a little over a decade ago, just to be a part of the events, meet people from around the market that are in a comparable professional environment.
mm,
And that led to me being invited to join the board as a volunteer chair for their sponsorship
mhm,
committee about 3 years ago. So I've been through that board role, that volunteer board role for 2 full years now. And at the beginning of July this year, I started a third year as the AVP for sponsorship. It's an active, organized networking specific to the marketing and advertising community. It's done a lot for me personally, as well as for the firm, when it comes to visibility and relationships. I would say that a couple things to consider with this. First and foremost, with something like this, you get out of it what you put into it.
yeah.
So just by saying you're a member or a participant of an organization like this, you're not really doing much by just waving that flag, right?
Mhm,
You got to be a part of it. You got to dig into it. You got to go to the events. You got to put on the smile and go around and be willing to talk and introduce yourself. That's not a problem for me most of the time. I'm
mhm,
I'm comfortable in that type of environment. But that's led me to meet people brand side. That's led me to meet other owners and leaders of marketing agencies. Um, but it's also opened up the door for the business, right? Like
mm,
the organization, again, is all comprised of volunteers. They have an operating budget for specific expenses tied to events and certain programming that they hold and put on and host.
mhm,
But they also have needs to support things like their website and even the marketing of specific events that are coming up in the future. And because of my activity and ties to the organization actually came to me and said, "Hey, could your agency support us with a number of these things? You know, um, we need some graphic design assistance, we need some website assistance, we need some copyright, that type of stuff."
yeah.
And that's kind of intertwined our team with the organization to a point where, like, now I am not the only sort of touch point to the AMA. It's SR&B. It's my agency that is really known and recognized through that relationship.
Yeah.
So started with me and then kind of grew to the company. And I think that evolution has been great. Like I said, got invited to sit on the board and contribute to raising funds for sponsorships, and kind of being at a higher level with the organization from a leadership perspective. So that's been a huge part of just I think getting ourselves out into the marketplace more regularly over the course of the last 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, yeah. And tell me about your connection with the Baltimore Ravens and that kind of network that you're involved with.
Yeah. Well, I know you wanted to ask and talk about that because you lived not too far from us in the
That's
Maryland
right.
area,
I did
and I
for
believe, didn't you say that you were here when they won the Super Bowl in
yes,
2013?
yes, we
Yeah.
were. Yeah, really
We
exciting
got
time.
Yeah. you probably saw more purple than you ever cared to see in your life. But
It's true.
the Ravens are there's a I've got a great affinity towards them, mostly because I've been a fan, since they came to town, 30 years ago. But also because of the people there. I've met and gotten to work with a number of people at the team level, their front office, even before I came over to the agency. And so last year in 2025, the team announced a small business partnership program
Mm,
that they were going to be launching at the top of the new season last fall. And they were basically going out to identify, 18 to 24 businesses that may not have the budget to be up on the big screen in the stadium during all the events and be a big corporate sponsor to the Ravens team itself, but rather kind of a network of some smaller businesses, local and regional,
mm.
that could kind of connect and collaborate together to support one another's growth. Of course, there was a lot of extra, promotion and added benefit to being and becoming a sponsor, radio
Yeah.
spots and too some in-game, exposure around the stadium during the games throughout the season. But the real value that we found in the small business partnership, and aligning ourselves with the team was the networking opportunities with the other partners that were becoming a part of the program.
Hmm.
And that was great. Last year was the first season of it. It's a 3-year deal, so we're getting ready to kick off the second season here, as NFL training camp starts in the coming days and weeks. But it was really cool to align ourselves with the team to be able to use particular, you know, um, logos and kind of branding to associate ourselves with the team and kind of build some credibility that way. They're a big player, obviously, not just in this market, but in the region.
Mm.
And we knew that that affiliation could potentially open some doors, not just from a networking perspective, but from a business development standpoint. As the partnership kind of rolled through its lifespan. So, really cool event at the end of last season where they brought all the partners together at the stadium, and we were able to network and meet one another. Kind of came out of there with a short list of some people that were interested in learning more about what they could do to market and advertise themselves better. So again, we're only about a year into that, but so far we've loved it. It's been a great thing for our business. It's been a great conversation starter, even when people see the logo and our email signature and things like that. It's a great way to engage and have conversation with people. So yeah, that's been kind of, when I referenced earlier some of the new stuff that we're doing. That was one of
Mm.
the things that we implemented last year that was very, very new to us, and we've been very pleased with it so far.
Yeah, that sounds like a great way to network. So, finally, Chad, if people are interested in finding out more about you and your business, what is the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, for sure. So, we can start on the wonderful world of LinkedIn. You can look me up. I'm under Chad G. Bauer. And you can hit me up, connect with me, shoot me a message there, and I'll certainly get back to you. It's a great way, in my opinion, just to initiate some conversation and kind of go from, the internet to potentially an in-person conversation or phone or video conversation. So can reach me there any day, all day. And like I said, be happy to connect with you. You can also learn more about our agency and connect with us there through our website, which is srbadv.com. And there's some forms on the site that you can fill out if you care to learn more or want to connect with me individually.
Lovely. Well, thanks for being my guest, and I hope the Ravens do really well this year.
Thank you, Liz. Hopefully make it back to Maryland sometime and get to experience it again.
That'd be
Appreciate you having
nice.
me today.
Thanks for listening to Small Business Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, please do rate, review, and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.